Good evening everyone. I'm so sorry that I couldn't join you in person, but it's lovely to see so many of you here. I've always been very close to Nan, and I spent a lot of time with her as a child. She'd often lose me on day trips out, but the important thing is that she'd always find me before we went home at the end of the day. I do have a distinct memory of her losing me at Cadbury's World when I was about 4 or 5 years old. She found me sitting at the back of a coach full of teenage boys who were there for a school trip, and she was absolutely bewildered at how I'd ended up there. I'm not sure she's ever admitted to my mum just how many times she lost me on days out. I think one of the many reasons that we were so close is because she always treated me as an equal, even as a child. She would often ask for my opinion on situations and always valued what I had to say. Whenever she looked after me, she would just do whatever she wanted to do and bring me along, even if it wasn't particularly child appropriate. I do have a vivid memory when I was about 8 or 9 years old of spending an afternoon just watching the Atkins diet video with her. And honestly I had a great time because I was with my nan. I share Nan's love of murder mysteries, and for as long as I can remember, our favourite show to watch together was Midsommar Murders. At some point during my childhood, Midsommar Murders became sponsored by Leerdammer Cheese, and it became tradition that every week we'd watch the show together with Leerdammer on toast. I have really fond memories of us sitting together, trying to guess who the killer was while we ate our posh cheese on toast. At 17, I started working at a 1950s themed American diner. Nan loved it there and would often come to visit me at work because she loved the music and she could choose songs on the vintage jukeboxes. My colleagues all adored her and everyone greeted her by name whenever she came. Sometimes I dreaded her coming to the diner though, because she'd always scout out my male colleagues and ask the ones that she liked if they were single. If they were, she'd point out that I was also single, and then she'd call me over to tell me that they were very nice boys, right in front of them. She found my love life to be a great source of entertainment, and once when I'd been single for a few months, she actually knitted me a boyfriend. Nan was twice married and twice divorced. When I was 22, I broke up with the first boyfriend that I'd ever lived with. Nan took me out for coffee that week and we talked about what happened. In that conversation, she gave me what is probably the best little piece of wisdom that anyone has ever given to me. She just said, "It's okay, lol. You've got a couple of marriages to get through yet. We'll just count this one as your first." She had a wonderfully rebellious nature, especially in her later years. About 11 years ago, I wanted to buy a Starbucks mug for my boyfriend at the time, but none of the Starbucks we visited had the right one. So eventually Nan just suggested that we stay for a coffee in the last Starbucks we visited. Not even 2 minutes after we sat down, she asked me if I was ready to leave. I was a bit surprised, but I said okay. And when we got to the end of the street, out of her bag she pulled the mug that her cappuccino had been served in. Because it was the same mug that I wanted. And she just told me, "No one suspects an old lady." She liked decorating around her front door for Halloween, and she told me that it was to scare the old biddies, completely oblivious to the fact that she herself was older than some of the old biddies that she was referring to. 8 years ago, she told me that she wanted to get a tattoo. It had been a lifelong dream, and she finally didn't care about any judgment that she might receive for it. I suggested that we get matching tattoos, and she loved that idea. I asked her what she'd like to get, and she told me that she'd always been torn between two ideas. Either a butterfly on her wrist, or a little red devil on her boob. I told her that I'd have to live with this a lot longer than she did, so we could get the butterfly. And we did. At 74, she was the oldest person that the tattoo artist had ever tattooed. Nan will be dearly missed by so many people, and there'll never be another quite like her. She was kind, generous and funny, and touched the lives of so many people. So finally, will you please join me for a toast? To Margaret.